Good evening. Good evening. It is Thursday, July 14th, 2022. Welcome to the Keeping It Real Conversations with Sunshine. I am your host, Camila, aka Sunshine. We are live on Spotify. We are live on Twitch, Twitter. We are live on the YouTube channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. It is the name of the show. We are live on my Facebook page, which is Sunshine Camila, Kamela. We do all know that is not how you spell my name, but for pronunciation purposes, that's how we gonna spell it today. Again, I love all of our guests. Our guests are dope. Again, I believe in 6 degrees of separation. You are one person away, one advice away, and one help away from where you need to be in your destiny. It has been proven over and over again since we started this show. As usual, I let our people know how I know the person. I let our people know what their bio is. I try to make it short as possible so we have more room to actually have time for conversations. This is a good one. They're all good, but this is a really, really good one compared to when you're going with things that are personal to you. Those are the ones that you really, really dive into to actually have the conversations, to actually ask questions. And this one, I named it as the relationship guru. And she is someone I met through Beverly Brooks, and everybody knows who Beverly is. That is my big sis, and she's been giving me people over and over again, left and right. So I thank her tonight for letting me know who this person is. The light of getting into the relationships where connections is important. And so I'm gonna go over her bio real quick, and then we'll have more time to get in this conversation that I am truly excited about because being in the field of communication, being in the field with customer service, and not just in marriage but in relationships of all sorts. This is information we all need to know. So Deborah Barnes Hamilton, relationship and intimacy coach. That right there is enough in itself. She is the CEO and founder of Nature Your Love.
Nurture.
Nurture, sorry. She is an international speaker and author. Deborah has created a married women's forum on Thursdays to help women find themselves and enhance their marriage. Deborah's passion has always been to help busy women and married couples learn how to communicate, understand expectations, learn how to, oh, that's a good one, learn how to forgive, have better self esteem. Oh, that was a good one too. And create intimacy in their relationships. Oh, that's a good one too. We as married couples sometimes struggle in our marriage and need help to bridge the gap that's causing us to disconnect. As a relationship and intimacy coach, Deborah is helping couples find their spark that they had once in the beginning when they first got married. And I'm going to stop right there because that was enough right there.
It is.
I'm going to pin this part. She has over 39 years of experience of being married. Of course, as we all know that life can give you the roller coaster. You'll have your ups, your downs, your highs, and your lows. And through it all, she has learned how to communicate her needs and her wants. So we're going to get into this conversation with Miss Deborah Barnes Hamilton.
Hey, I am
What's
happy to
going
be here.
on?
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me on. I'm so excited. I'm ready to get started.
So let's go into, I'm going to start and we're going to break some myths today.
All right.
So, you know how women we always tend to go back to our childhood when we always play with the Barbie and Ken. I
Mm,
didn't like dolls, but that's what we play with.
that's it.
And we always played this game of Barbie always marrying Ken.
Yep.
First of all, wasn't no other ones around unless you was playing with G.I. Joes, okay? So that's all you had. And we made sure that they got married and they had kids.
Mm-hmm.
No career, none of
Nope.
that.
Nope.
And so was that true for you as well of it was already embedded in us as little girls, that's what you're going to do when you get older?
Yes, definitely. That fairy tale. That's what I call it. The fairy tale. The
Yeah.
unrealistic fairy tale. Yep.
Um so growing up, what was your home like, um as far as, the married life? What did you see? What was something that, yeah, I'm gonna put this in my pocket and when I get older I'm gonna take it out?
I grew up in a very dysfunctional household. Okay.
Oh, say that word again.
Very dysfunctional household.
Okay.
My stepfather was an alcoholic, and there was nothing but chaos in our household. And because of that, I wound up being a child of trauma. So I had childhood trauma. And we talk about how our childhoods affect us. And I am very versed in this because once I realized that I was this child of trauma, I did a lot of research on it to change my behaviors, which we can get into later. But when you are in a dysfunctional household, you sometimes it's normalized and other times it's not. But as you get older, you realize that because of the things that you've gone through plays into your relationships as you get older. And that's what happened to me. You know, you grow up, you think that you're, and first of all, I grew up saying, I'm not going to be my mother. That was the first thing I said. I'm not going to be my mother because I never wanted to live the way she lived. I mean, it wasn't like horrible all the time. I don't want anybody to think that. But I hated the weekends because that's when all the chaos was happening in our household was the weekends, right? And so as you age, you say you're not going to do these things. You don't want to be your mother or your father or whatever. However, because you grow up in such a dysfunctional environment, that negativity carries on until you figure out how it has affected you. And that's what I personally had to do as I became an adult. I had to figure out, okay, this really did affect me in my life. And even though I thought I was grown, even though I knew what I was talking about, how I was going to do things, in reality, if you don't see anybody happy around you, because everybody in my neighborhood was dysfunctional. So if you don't grow up in an environment, a loving environment, then that dysfunction just carries on with you as an adult. And that's what happened to me. So that's how I grew up.
I get it. And it makes sense. And I don't know, sometimes, like I said, things when it comes to questions, you often wonder, like, where was the pinpoint in this person's life where who they are now developed from that point.
Yes.
So as again, I would say 7%, I would say out of 7 out of 10 adult women had that fairy tale in their head um as a young child, that my job is to eventually find the right one, settle down, get married, and have children.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was never a conversation about careers. It was never any of that. That's what you're going to do. And so I wondered, a lot of times women change that because look, we 90s, all that other stuff was 70s, 60s. I'm over that. More power to the women, and I'm not doing it. So now that we understand from your point of view, from your life as a young woman growing up, that you were in a dysfunctional home, a
Mm-hmm.
dysfunctional neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you understand after this point that something is not right?
After I got married,
You said
after
after?
after I got married, I mean, we
Ooh, let,
did
let, let
all
me
the
go
right
get some
things.
popcorn.
I know, right? We did all the right things. I talk to my clients all the time is to make sure that you're talking about expectations. You're talking about, and when I say expectations of what do you want out of your marriage? Do you plan on having children? How do you plan to raise these children? Or who's going to be doing what in the household? We did all of that. But we were two dysfunctional people. He didn't have the greatest childhood either. His mother died when he was 5, right? And he grew up with a very stern father. So he didn't have anything to show him what a great marriage was either. So we both came together. We were both dysfunctional and we were trying to figure it out. But one of the things that I figured out about myself is that I was controlling. Things had to be my way. And the reason why it finally a light bulb finally came on is when I really started trying to figure out why we were struggling so much, right? Why wasn't he understanding what I wanted? Why wasn't I understanding what he wanted? But the issue became that I realized that as a child I had no control, right? I had no control as a child. I didn't know what was going to happen, when it was going to happen. I had no control. So as an adult, I wanted control. It was subconscious. It wasn't a conscious decision to be controlling, but subconsciously it was, no, this is the way I want it, or I think I'm smart, so this is the way it should be, right? But I can't say, I have to say that I had to own that. I had to own that in my relationship and understand that no matter what he was doing, I was causing friction in my relationship. It was me, and I was accountable for myself. Irregardless of what he was doing, I was accountable for me. And it took me a while to get there. I mean, I did a lot of soul searching. I read books, love psychology today, still love psychology today. Went to therapy actually, and just really tried to figure out who I was. What did I want? How can I make this marriage better? But I had to start with myself first. I had to fix me first for me to show up in my relationship. So I take ownership of me. I can't take ownership of someone else.
Yes. Bev is on. She says, "Hello, beautiful queens."
Hey, Beth.
Um, that was one of the parts that was awesome to me because sometimes life takes turns, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And for survival mode, you figure out what's working and what's not working.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
If it's working, don't change it. Don't do anything, especially being an independent woman.
mm-hmm,
So let's go with I told this story before. I have a great family. I had an auntie that pulled us to a side as a preteen and told us, look, at all costs, no matter what, you have to be a strong woman regardless of what he does or does not do. If he decides today that he's leaving you, you have to be in a spot where you are able to live on your own. Yes, he's the husband, but at the end of the day, If he choose to leave, you have to have something to not only fall on, but make sure that you got your head on straight and go to work, do what needs to be done. And so I find myself, and I'm gonna put myself in this, I find myself having, as you say, controlling, to the point where my husband, like, I have to keep telling you, you're not a man.
Right.
And I'd be like,
Right.
wait, what? He'd be like, I don't know who you talking to.
Yep.
I don't know what you doing,
Yep.
but I got this over here.
Hmm.
Stay in your place, in so many words. I'd be like, but I just, no.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then that comes into, this is the second one, second marriage.
Hmm.
So of course I'm coming in like, what happened in the first one ain't about to happen in this one. I'm telling you now. Look, I let
Yeah.
some things go. I allow some things. And this time around, what I happened in the first one ain't happening in this one. So either straighten up and fly right, or we going on a different plane. One of the two. So
Mm.
what was that like for you? Um, taking life lessons or experiences and then balled it up into your own marriage.
Well, this is I was married for 34 years the first time, and I'm married
Wait,
a
what?
second time. Yes, I'm
What?
married a second time for
Did you
almost
say
6 years.
34 years the
Yes,
first one?
the first one. Yes, yes.
Girl, you about to make me cuss. Wait a minute. Wait. What?
Yeah, yeah. We were married, and for the most part, it was a good marriage. It was, I had certain things that I wish he would do, and he didn't, but I accepted it. And I'm sure from his perspective, there were things that he wanted me to do that I didn't do. What happened with us is that there were periods of time where we struggled, but because I was constantly working on myself, then I was showing up as my better self, which helped the marriage, right? However, for him, he is he was passive aggressive, and so he didn't know how to express himself. That's not a negative; it just is, right? So the end of our marriage happened because he felt like I had done all these things, but this is the key to everything. And I really want your audience, your listeners to hear me when I say this. When you don't tell someone that they're making you unhappy or that they're not meeting your needs, it is not fair to the person if you don't share that. And so, what caused the demise of my marriage was because my ex husband held on to 30 years of things that he perceived that I had done and yet never told me, right? So, at the end, he, how can I put this, you guys? He um, spent 6 months telling me what a terrible person I was. And when I tried to share my thoughts on it, he didn't want to hear it. He kept saying, I'm not finished. I'm not finished. So, because of the type of person I am, when he would say the things he had to say, I would listen. And then he would ask me, did I have anything to say? And I'd be like, no, I'm good. Because in the final analysis, I realized that he needed to say what he said. He needed to say it. He needed to get it out. And I didn't have a problem with that because I am a confident woman. I am a strong woman. So I was able to handle whatever he had to say. So after 6 months, he decided that he wanted to separate or divorce. And what you were talking about earlier, I always had my plan B. So that was fine. And I'm not saying it was easy to walk away. It was not easy to walk away. Being married for that long, it was, you felt like felt like a failure, kind of, because you didn't make it. However, because I know who I am, I know what I want, I know what I like, I know what my expectations are and what I was going to accept. I was like, fine. If this is what you need to do, then that's what you need to do. I wasn't angry. I was hurt. I was hurt because I did not get the opportunity to resolve whatever issues that he felt like he had in the marriage. However, you can't fix anything if you're not told what they are. And that was our demise of our marriage. And then we tried for 3 years. I moved out, and then we tried for 3 years, and nothing really changed. So we got a divorce. So it was because I did my work, because I worked on myself. I was able to walk away. I was happy. I wasn't depressed. I wasn't sad because I was confident in who I was. So that's what happened in my first marriage. And he is a great guy. I will never take that away from him. He is a good man. He just struggled with sharing his thoughts and, about what he was feeling, what was going on with him. And that was the demise of our marriage.
So what is the process of in the bio it talks about um the forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Um it talks about getting back to the beginning of the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing intimacy into not just another level, but um yeah, something that is needed. So where do you go from I've tried, I've listened, I've done my part or due diligence to work on me to better myself for you, and that still is not enough. Um, no one wants to be in the courtroom.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No.
Um, it's not what I saw on TV. And because we had my first marriage, just because we didn't have any children, we didn't have anything per se with our names on it. It was over in 90 days. So they gave us, you filed, you do all of that, and you show up. Literally, I was before the judge, and we was out in 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Did the same
And I
thing.
was like,
Mm-hmm.
16 years gone in 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So that was it. From my mental to all of these things, all of these questions, like you said, feeling like a failure. Oh, I'm the first in my household to get divorced. Like, when actually I wasn't the first, but however, it was like I stayed for so long. I
Yeah.
tried everything. I gave you everything. What do I have left? Dang, now I got to start all over. That's not
Yeah.
what the Barbie and Ken said.
Not at all. Not at all. That's why I say fairy tale, because in reality, life is totally different. But like I said, I was in a good place. Like it was, how could I put this? It was about me. It was about what I wanted and what I needed. And that's why I said I was hurt because I didn't get the opportunity to resolve some of the issues. But I wasn't sad. I wasn't mad. And actually, we're friends today. We talk to each other. He was married. He got remarried. Divorced again, but he got remarried. And we were able to talk. And I feel like we could be friends. But for him, he needed more, but he would have gotten it. That's the key to all of this, you guys. He would have gotten more if he would have shared it. And that's why I'm sharing this story with you, because if you're not communicating, if you're not really sharing what's going on with you and the way you're feeling, then this is what can happen because one person is talking and the other person is not. And that's not good.
So what do you do for, like, for the listeners who deal with like people who have the issue of communicating, and it only comes out when they're on something, or they're drunk, or they're high. All this conversation comes out only when
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they're not really quote unquote themselves. So what do you do for people who have to deal with that in that sense?
First of all, we all, and I come from a place of humility. And I believe that you have to find common ground. You have when someone is telling you how they feel, you have to listen. You don't have to agree, but you have to listen because it's from their perspective, right? And even if they're talking based on, they were drinking or they were angry when they said it, it meant something to them. No matter how it came out, it meant something to them. And that is the time that you take time out. And I'm not saying in that moment, definitely not in that moment, but in a quiet time, in a quiet place, discuss it, but discuss it calmly. We have a very quick tendency to want to come back at somebody. When somebody says something negative to us, or somebody, said something, right, even did something, right? We're ready to jump back at them versus really listening to what they have to say. And that's the key, is that you have to listen to what they're saying so that you can comprehend, not listen to, and I talk about active listening all the time. I actually wrote a book, Mastering Communication in Your Relationships and Marriage, and it talks about active listening. And one of the things about active listening is that you're not listening to respond, you're listening to understand.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key. And that is the dynamic that you have on a consistent basis. It doesn't mean that one conversation might be enough. It might be several conversations that you have until you get to that point where you feel like you're communicating. So I tell everybody, stop. Don't let what somebody is saying affect you in that moment, because everybody's upset, everybody is angry. And always remember, it's just a moment. It's a moment. It's not a life sentence. It's not something that, oh my God, I can't believe he said that or she said that. The world is going to end. No, find out why they feel that way. And that's what I tell my clients all the time. Take a breath. And even if you have to walk away, I do that with my husband. We have our communicate, but we also have a code word. Like if we get a little heated, we'll say love, and then everybody just smiles and calms ourselves down, right? So you have to take that moment. You have to try to understand where they're coming from. And honestly, that's why our marriage lasted as long as it did, because we were very respectful. We never called each other outside of our name. I don't play that. I lived it. Don't play it. Okay. One of my expectations. So we had our periods of time where he would say something and I would be like, okay, so what do you mean? How are you feeling? Why did you say that? What's going on with you? Because a lot of times it's something going on with your spouse, with your partner, that can make them burst out that way and make them
Mm-hmm.
feel the way they feel. So you have to take the time to calm down. And like I said, you got to come back later. You come back later another day, maybe a couple of days later, whatever it might take, and really find out why that person feels the way they feel. So that's something I really stress with my clients.
So what does a healthy conversation looks like? For an example, for those who I guess to break down, is the person actually attacking you? Is the person you being misunderstood? There's some barrier going on in the conversation, right? And
Exactly.
so you walk away like, I don't think they understood, or I don't think they heard what I said. And then you try to not put the same, I say for myself, I try not to put people who are acting similar in the same box that I put the other person that actually hurt me.
Mhm. Mhm.
Or look, I'm not talking to you right now. I don't want to talk to you because the words that might come out of my mouth would not be healthy words.
Mhm.
So I'm not gonna talk to you at all. So I was the person that avoid confrontation because I didn't feel like I would be able to handle myself in a conversation with that person.
Mhm.
Um, because of history that has nothing to do necessarily with you, but because look, it's getting escalated. They pushing buttons. I'm about to explode, and you not catching the signs. Like, you know what? I'm done. Unplug.
Yeah. I mean, you could do that, but one of the things that I say is apologize. If things get heated, you can always apologize. When people apologize, you don't always have to be right. You don't have to be right, but you can calm down the situation. You can calm down the issue in at hand by just saying, "Oh, babe, I'm so sorry." And you could say, "I didn't mean to say it that way," or "I'm sorry you feel that way." That diffuses so much when you choose to be the bigger person. Because one of the things that I say all the time, and I talk about ego states, and ego states has to deal with whether you're the parent, the child, or the adult. And one of the things that I say is there are two adults in the room, even though that adult could be acting like the child or acting like the parent, there's still two adults in the room. So you
Mm-hmm.
still have to show respect to that adult, irregardless of how that adult is behaving at that time. So it goes back to humility. And I know that humility is hard for a lot of people because we black, especially our black women, boy, we can be rough, right? We can have egos out of the wazoo. However, when our goal is to resolve the issue instead of making the issue worse, then we can always diffuse it by an apology. And I do it all the time. My husband and I do it. I'm telling y'all, I'm in the best marriage ever. I am so happily married. It is just unbelievable. And I want everybody to be this way. I want everybody to be where I'm at. But like I said, I did my work and I teach people how to do their work so that they can show up in their relationships whole, happy, and confident. And that's what I want for everyone. So it even though you have this big ego or you have pride, sometimes think about the goal. What is the goal that you want to reach in your relationship? Do you want to have a happy relationship or do you want to have a chaotic relationship? Do you want to have there's so many people in relationships right now that they're living as roommates versus marriage mates because they're not talking to each other. They're getting on each other's nerves. COVID was really, really showed people's true colors, right? Let's just be
Yes.
honest. COVID really showed people's their true colors because you were in the house with each other. Because think about it, before COVID, you can escape and go to work. Even if you're escaping to go to a friend's house, your mama's house, go to the mall, you were able to escape. But when COVID came, you were in the house with this person 24/7. So that brought up a lot of things. But what is the goal? And I say this all the time. What is your goal for your marriage? If it is to have a happy marriage, then you're going to use the tools that I will be happy to show you to figure out the best way to handle yourself, and you can only change yourself. You can only be responsible for your behavior. So if you want to be responsible for your behavior, then you have to make decisions based on how you're going to project and how you're going to show yourself. If your goal is to have a happy marriage, then you're going to figure out how to get there. And I will definitely help you do that. But that's the goal, to have a happy marriage, not a marriage that is chaotic, that you can't wait to get away from your husband. I mean, I remember a time I came home from work and we had had a disagreement before, and I sat in my car to get myself together to be able to go inside, right? And I know y'all, come on, let's if we keeping this real, this is a real conversation.
Yes.
And we know there are other people out here that have done the same thing. Had to sit in the car, get themselves together before they went into the house, or went somewhere to get themselves together before they went home, right? So it was making sure that when I came in that door, that I was coming in that door with a better attitude versus replaying what had already happened the day before or that morning, right? Instead of looking at the negative piece of it, my whole process was okay, this is what happened. So, what can I do to change the dynamic, the atmosphere, the chaos that's going on? What can I personally do to change it? And that is something that's when you put your big girl pants on, when you are taking ownership of your behavior. That's we are saying, I know that this person might respond this way or that way, but that's not how I'm going to respond in kind. Because what is the goal? The goal is to have a happy marriage.
And I agree with this. So sometimes when I had a bad habit, and I still have to catch myself of, if we're talking and it starts sounding like we're about to argue, I shut down. Or I'd be like, okay, it's over. Okay, it's over. And he'll say, it's over because you said so? No, I want to talk about this. Like, no, I don't want to talk because I feel like we're about to argue. And he was like, we're not arguing. We're having a conversation. And I'd be like, no, I in my ears have shut down because I don't want to hear what has to be said, right? And so he like, look, mature adults are not.
Woo-hoo.
And I said that. I had to catch myself. I had to watch the replay because that's what I said. Mature adults have conversation. They're not always going to be in agreement with each other. And I'd be like, listen, uh, if it ain't my way, it's we're not doing it. And he's like, no, that's not how it's supposed to be.
No.
It's I
You
don't
sound
even know
like
where I
me.
got that from, but I'm admitting it
Yeah,
that that is a problem because again, his opinion is just as important as my opinion, and it
exactly.
is what it is in an
Mm-hmm.
opinion, and we
Mm-hmm.
can come together
Mm-hmm.
in cool minds,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not a shouting match because I don't do that,
I don't either.
and come together. Like I said, we can say it, come back maybe 20 minutes, come back a little bit later, and then let's go back to this because it needs to be completed.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
at this
Definitely
point,
needs to be
if
completed.
we don't, there's
It
going to be
lingers.
assumptions made from that conversation that not necessarily is what it is. And I have been guilty of doing that because of, look, I'm just trying not to be in this space again. I don't want to get a divorce again. I don't want nothing negative because I felt like, hey, we're the ones. So let's correct whatever didn't happen before in both of our relationships, that
Mm-hmm.
we get it together this time because this is
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that.
Yep. There
It
you
is a
go.
wrap. It ain't gonna be no 34 years and there is out. Mm-mm. No, ma'am.
I know, girl. I ain't mad at you. Don't be me. And I tell people that all the time. Don't be me. But I teach people how not to be me, how not to do the things that I did. And I can't ask you to do something that I don't do, right? I can't expect to understand you if I haven't been through some of the chaos in marriage, right? So I just, and I have to say this to you, Sunshine. You have to you saying two adults in the room. So when you say I'm done with the conversation, you're treating him like he's your child instead of understanding that there's two adults in the room, and it's okay to have a timeout. It's okay to say, babe, I'm shutting down. Just being honest, I'm shutting down. I'm not really going to hear everything that you're saying to me. So can we have a timeout and can we just regroup later? It's something as simple as that. It's nothing negative about saying it. I've done that before too. I've said, babe, you know, I don't feel like we're getting anywhere. Can we just regroup and come back to the conversation? And that way you cool down, you think, and 9 times out of 10, when you think about what's being discussed, you be like, that really was not that important. Or
No.
why didn't I just understand what he was saying? Or why didn't I just understand what she was saying? But because our emotions are caught up, then we realize that we letting our emotions get in the way instead of our logic getting in the way. So it's nothing wrong with a timeout. Nothing.
So let's talk about this word intimacy, and I'm going to connect with intimacy and sex, okay? Because it's two different things for
It
y'all
is.
that didn't
It
know,
is.
okay? So, what is the thing, or what is a healthy conversation for more intimacy, more sex? I'm not sure where everybody's at, but it is a conversation that needs to be had. Don't assume that we rabbits in here, and don't assume that I'm not a rabbit. So, how does that healthy conversation for those who might be struggling in those areas? Um, how do they have those conversations?
Well, first of all, intimacy is outside of the bedroom. Intimacy inside the bedroom is a continuation of what you've done outside the bedroom. Okay. So when you think about intimacy, to me, intimacy is the closeness that you have with your partner before you even get to the bedroom. It has to do with, are you kissing your partner? Are you hugging your partner? Are you telling your partner you love them? And remember, I'm saying you can only have control of yourself. Okay, so I'm focusing on one person at a time. And each person, if who's ever listening to this, can ask themselves these questions. You know, are you, being playful? Remember when you were dating and everything was fun and you did different things with your partner before you married them or before y'all long-term relationship, right? Think about that fun you had. Are you continuing that fun? Like one of the things I do, and I had shared this with Beverly, one of the things that I do is I send my husband cards in the mail.
Wow.
I send him cards in the mail. A lot of people don't think about that. I write letters, I write notes. You can put a post-it note on their pillow before they come to bed at night. You can put a post-it note on the refrigerator before you go to work. You could text them, and you could text them emojis, something funny, something sweet, something sexy, whatever. There's so many things that you could do. My husband and I, if we listen to music, we will dance. We will stand up and we'll dance and we'll just have a good time. And we'll just do all these little things that we did when we were dating, right? So we kept it going. And when was the last time you reminisced? My husband and I reminisce all the time. When was the last time you just reminisced about a situation where y'all had so much fun, even if it was about sex, right? When was the last time you did that? When was the last time you talked about how wonderful it was with your spouse? All these little things that I'm bringing up happen outside the bedroom. And if you're still struggling, you have the conversation outside the bedroom about what you want from that person sexually, right? You have to do it outside the bed. You can't do it in the middle. So you have to do it outside the bedroom, and you have to be kind and loving when you have that conversation. And oh, by the way, expect those expectations should have been talked about before marriage, but some people don't do that. And some people don't know because a lot of people, some people still, get married and not have sex. So you do wind up having that conversation afterwards when you find out, okay, didn't know this person did this or didn't do that or whatever. But always remember, intimacy starts outside the bedroom, including the conversation about what you want in the bedroom.
So I know we when we started, I we talked about controlling women
Yeah.
in relationships.
Oh,
So can you talk to that where I've seen women like literally belittle their husbands, not boyfriend, husband in front of everyone.
yeah.
Um and I've seen them control everything from the top of the house all the way to the basement to everything that comes in and out of the house.
Yeah.
And you like, so why do you need a man again?
No, the question should be, how happy are you? Because
Basically.
that's it. That's it. You need to control something because you're not happy. That's number one. That's the thing. You're not happy. When I was controlling, I wasn't happy. I felt like I had to control what was going on around me. And I brought it back to my childhood and knowing that I had no control over my childhood. So when I realized what I was doing, because my husband was telling me, he was like, hold up, like, why you talking to me like that? Or why you think I don't know how to? I still had a little problem with my husband now. He's like, why you think I don't know how to do that? It's not like I don't think you know how to do it. It's just my suggestion, right? Making sure
Mhm.
that you covered all the areas, right? But we have to be careful when we are choosing to um, be the boss. We're not the boss. It's a partnership. And for those of us who believe in the Bible, there's headship. There is headship. And people look at that as a negativity, but I'm telling you, if you follow headship, then you won't have any problems at all because you recognize his role and then you recognize your role. And you can be partners in your relationship. It doesn't have to, and oh, by the way, relationships are not always 50-50. That's another myth because some people might know how to do more things than the other person. So, but the goal, and I keep going back to the goal should be to have a happy marriage. And if that's what you want, then you're going to have to check yourself and you're going to have to ask yourself, why do I feel like I have to have all this control? Why do I feel like I have to emasculate my husband so that I can feel big, bold, whatever, right? Because it is a control situation, but you don't need to have that control. And you're not honoring your husband when you feel like you have to tell him what he needs to do. When like I said, I'll say it again. When there's two adults in the room, you do not have the right to tell another adult what they should do, how they should do it, when they should do it. You know, there are limits. And the goal is a happy marriage. So, what do you personally need to do to have a happy marriage?
Okay, let me you pick me up. Okay, let me ask this question. For I know a lot of single women,
Mm-hmm.
and just by actions or conversations where their mental is, when do or when would they know they are actually ready to be married?
When they're confident in themselves, when they know what they want in a marriage, when they've had the conversation with the potential person that they want to marry and they feel really good about it. They feel good about the expectations that they've discussed and and what they feel like the person can bring to the table. But it starts with you. It starts with you doing your work, making sure that you're confident in yourself and that you know that you're willing to compromise in a relationship. Because what happens, the older you get, the longer you're single and you're responsible for yourself, the harder it is to relinquish some of that responsibility. So we have
Mm,
to make sure that we're willing to relinquish some of that responsibility. And because if you don't, then all it's going to do is cause chaos in the relationship because there's two adults in the relationship. So you have to make sure, as a single person, you have to make sure that you're willing to relinquish responsibilities, that you're willing to allow your future spouse to handle certain things in the relationship so that you're not taking total control. And that's hard to do when you've been single for a long time. You've been responsible for everything. You feel like you know how to do everything. And how can they tell me what to do when I've been doing it for so long? But that is that part, that confidence that you're going to build, that you're going to have, is going to allow you to allow someone else to be responsible for some of the things that you were doing. And let me tell you something, ladies, giving that responsibility can be like, whew, I mean, you could feel so much better. You don't have to be responsible for everything
right.
all the time. You can give up some of that responsibility and take some of that stuff off your shoulders. That's the whole part of having a partner.
Partner. Yeah.
Because we build off of each other. So that's what we have to do. And I know a lot of single women. I know a lot of single women that struggle with that because they've been single for so long and they have a hard time relinquishing some of that responsibility, but they have no idea what a relief it is. It's such a relief to relinquish some of it. You don't have to, it's not, all the responsibility is not on you now. You can give up some of that responsibility.
So I usually ask this question, and for those who are on, if you have questions, of course, you can actually put it in the comments, and I'll be willing to ask her these questions. And this is a great dialogue that I feel like the world needs to hear. The world needs to be a part of this conversation. Um, and it needs to be that way because again, we assumed a lot of things that was put on us as women or young girls, and we didn't understand it. It was subconscious, and so
Subconscious.
we went along with the story until the fairy tale is definitely a fairy tale.
It's a fairy tale.
It's definitely a fairy tale.
Yeah,
And I'm not saying marriage cannot work because it can. It just takes. We have to remember it's two people becoming one.
that's right.
That's not the easiest thing in the world. First of all, we come in from different backgrounds. We're coming from all these different things that cause us to be who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we don't say and communicate, look, this right here that you're showing right now is something that hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
Stop doing it. We don't
Mm-hmm.
say that. We
Yep.
just keep going on with, eventually they'll get it. They'll understand. That hurts. Stop doing that. And
Mm-mm.
push we'll push it down like that doesn't bother us, or um you're showing things that like I said hurt me before. Instead of communicating and saying that, we act out. As adults, we're still acting out like we're toddlers, except we're not falling out on the floor.
Exactly.
And so, again, this conversation, not necessarily as it being personal to me, but I know relationships, especially where the world is today, we need to have these conversations before you get into relationships with people. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you going off of looks, come on now.
That's the worst. Because you think about it, these men look for the finest woman ever, and the finest woman is not going to do half the stuff that they think they're going to do. Let's just be real. They're not. They're used to being taken care of, so it's not going to happen. And, I just want people to really take time to think about their role, their role in their relationship, not what someone else is doing. Because when you're pointing fingers, how many fingers are coming back at you? Three fingers are coming back at you. So if there's one big takeaway from this conversation, is to realize that you have to work on yourself and you can only change yourself. And that's one of the things that I realized about myself, that I had to change me because in the final analysis, I wanted to have a happy marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be how can I put it? Just like you were saying, when you allow people to say things and do things to you and you don't say anything about it, resentment builds up. It builds up, and it was the demise of my marriage because resentment had built up so much in my ex-husband that he couldn't let go of the resentment, even though I didn't know half the stuff, which such a disservice to me. However, when you let resentment build up, it causes chaos in the relationship. It just does. And you're never happy because you're too busy focusing on the negative stuff instead of looking. And that's one of the things that I said was you're so busy looking at the negative, you're not looking at the good. The negative has blinded you for so long that you're not even looking at the good. At what point do you stop thinking about the negative and look at the good? I was a very good wife, a very good wife, but he couldn't see that because he kept playing the negative things in his head, which blinded him from the good things that I did, which is so sad because honestly, if he hadn't done it, we'd still be married because I wasn't planning on divorcing. I would have still been married, but I
So
didn't know
you
what I
you
didn't
did
know.
say that you went to therapy. Did you guys go together?
We went together. We went together. Painful, painful. That's part of. I'm doing a master class, and that's part of my master class, talking about the different vehicles that we use to solve our problems and how they really don't work because of the different dynamics in those vehicles. So that's one of them that was very painful because in the final analysis, it was if we fix Debbie, then everything will be okay.
Right. Instead of what part did he play in this? I
Right.
got you.
He never looked at himself. And that is the piece that you struggle with. So, you know, it is what it is. I'm very happily married now, so I don't look back. I look forward because I constantly work on myself. I did all the things I need to do to be at this point in my life where I am just extremely happy, and I want that for everyone else. And that's why I am a relationship and intimacy coach because I have the tools that will show people what they need to do to be where I'm at because it's such a good feeling to go from where I was to being where I am today. So I want people to think about that. And if you don't mind, I really would like to talk about my master class that I'm going to be doing.
Hmm.
Is that okay? Can I share
Yes,
that? Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. I'm going to be doing a master class on July the 28th at 7 p.m. And it's entitled How to Prevent Your Marriage from Falling Apart in Three Simple Steps with or without your spouse. And that's the key, with or without your spouse. We struggle in our marriages all the time. And sometimes the struggle is so real. It's unbelievable. It is so real. Do you mind if I put the link in? If I give you the link to post so that they can
Hmm.
sign up for the master class?
Sure.
Okay. And we struggle like I talk to people all the time, and it's one of those situations where you just you're at your wits end. You don't know what to do. You don't know what to say. You're totally exhausted. You lie awake at night and you're looking up at the ceiling trying to figure out what to do. You're thinking about packing your bags. You're thinking about leaving, and then you say to yourself, okay, so where do I go to my mom's house? Do I go to my girlfriend's house? Do I get an apartment? I mean, everything is just so crazy that you don't know what to do. You look at your children and you see the unhappiness of your children, and you want to know, okay, I don't want my kids to grow up thinking that marriage is horrible. And that was me. I didn't want my kids to grow up and say, if this is marriage, I don't want it. You can keep it. I don't want that. I didn't want that for my kids. And I don't want you to do that either. I want you to feel like there is hope in your relationship. I believe me, I struggled. I remember being in my basement. I was in my basement and I was listening to Luther, anyone who has a heart. That was my jam. And I realized how lonely I was, how sad I was, how I wanted something from him that I wasn't getting. And it was sad that you feel that way. You're married, but yet you're alone. You're lonely, right? So I want to show you how you can get unstuck, how you can have a happy marriage, how you can be the confident wife that I want you to be, that I am. I want you to be that confident wife where you can show up and you don't have to worry about wondering, I don't want you to be that unheard wife, because that's what I call it. I call it an unheard wife when you're struggling and you're trying to figure out what to do and you're at your wits' end. I want you to be able to say, I have enough confidence in myself that I can make the changes that I need to make. And this masterclass is going to talk about my three pillars that I have. The first pillar is understanding the real you, and we go deep. When I say we go deep because it's all about you. I have a 47-page workbook that I use just about you. Okay. And then the second pillar is about understanding him. We're going to go through questions to understand him, but this is a perfect time to bring him in. Remember, you did your work. So whatever he has to say, you're going to be ready for it. You're going to be prepared for it because you did your work. And you won't come from a place of attitude, or you'll come from a place of active listening, being able to listen to understand versus listen to respond. So we're going to be learning all about him, why you marry him, the whole 9 yards. And then we're going to talk about effective communication. So it ties all the way in, where you're going to learn different techniques of how to communicate effectively. And I take you through uh, this process that I have, my tools that I use to help you to really understand how to effectively communicate so you won't have all the chaos that you're already having. So I hope you guys sign up for my master class. It is for married women. And I really hope that you guys sign up for it. Find out what I'm all about and make a change, because I guarantee you, when you change, your spouse will change. Okay? When you change, your spouse will change because they see the changes in you. So don't accept status quo. Do something for you. You're worth it. You are worth it. So do something for you. And I hope to see you in my masterclass. I really hope to see you. And DM me if you just want to have a conversation with me. Go to my Nurture Your Love IG, my Instagram, and Nurture Your Love, and click in my bio, and let's talk. Let's have a conversation. I'm always open to have a conversation. I'm always open to see how I can help you. And I love the fact that you have allowed me to be a part of this. I hope that your audience has gotten something out of this. I hope that the one big thing that they take away is they're only responsible for themselves. They can only change themselves. So come join me in my master class. Come find out, how you can be different than what you are today, because you're worth it and you deserve it. Thank
Well,
you.
I thoroughly, like every session, is I thoroughly enjoy not only learning about the individual, another human being. I have two questions for you before we go,
Okay.
that I ask all my guests, if I remember. One being, what is a balanced life for you?
My balanced life is spending time with my husband, doing my ministry, and just enjoying life, spending time with my family. That's my balanced life. I make sure that I'm doing happy things to keep a smile on my. But I have to say, my husband keeps a smile on my face. I have to say, my husband, from the moment I met my husband, he has made me laugh every day. There hasn't been a day that he hasn't made me laugh. So I'm always happy. But
That's
that's my
good.
balance. Yeah. Yeah.
And the other thing would what would be something that people would be surprised to know about you?
Hmm. I think the biggest surprise is that I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
That you are a Jehovah Witness?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep.
So, and that's cool.
Yep.
Again, I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Of course, I will, as soon as we get off, I will give you the link that you can also share on your platforms wherever you may. Um, Everybody, please, the link is up right now to join her masterclass that's coming up real soon. Also, we have put out her how to get in touch with her if you need to. The help is there. This is why we have these platforms for help, for connections, and for advice. And so we need to take advantage of that. Again, I have enjoyed you. And again, we believe in 6 degrees of separation. You are literally one person away, one
Yeah.
advice away, and
Yes.
one help away from where you need to be in your destiny. Again, I thank Beverly Brooks for
Yeah.
introducing us.
Beverly is
And like I said,
also
Bev is, yeah,
amazing. Yep.
she's doing big things. She's a part of her story.
Yes.
The book that just came out. She's going to be a part on a platform and panel. What I want to say the NAACP.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so
Yes.
she's doing big things.
Mhm.
Of course, this is not about Bev, but again, it's my platform. I can do what I want to do, and I can say what I want to say.
Exactly. Exactly.
So again, thank you guys. This evening has been a blast. Again, like I said, the tagline 6 degrees of separation. This has really helped me in understanding I was not the only one playing with Ken and Barbie dolls, even though
No.
I didn't like paper dolls. But however, learning that sometimes the things that we as women we take ownership of was embedded in us as kids, um, with the Barbies, with a conversation that was unsaid to us, that this was our goal, to be married, to have a husband, to have children,
Yeah.
and that's all you were going to do. But again, evolution, if that's the word I want to say, have changed some things where now we are truly the helpmate to our husbands. We go out there and we do it all,
That's true.
and bringing fulfillment to us as well as bringing fulfillment to our home and our family. In my opinion, is one of the biggest dreams there can be of fulfilling the role as a woman. I am not with children yet, but doing what I have to do to make sure that I'm not the only one smiling.
Yeah, I hear
It's a
you.
great feeling. I think one of the greatest things, and I'll end with this, that with my husband, we have come to a place where we're doing a lot of firsts together,
Hmm.
um, making memories together that neither one of us have been, or it's something totally different that I can't explain that I had with anybody else.
I hear
So
you.
that part is the ultimate intimacy to me. Of,
Mm-hmm.
you can't say you did this with such and such because we never did it. And
Right. Right.
so whether it's the cruise, whether it's the helicopter ride, whether it's going to Tennessee, wherever it may be, those
Mm-hmm.
moments that I can go back to my photo album, and yes, I do have photo albums,
I do
uh,
too.
that I can go back into memories, and you asked the question of when was the last time. It wasn't not too long ago. I grabbed the photo album and we went from the wedding day. Actually, we
Mhm.
went back before that. Our first date,
Mhm.
going back
Mhm.
to looking at pictures like, oh, remember when? Oh, what was this for? What was even food pictures? We could tell you where we were when we took the picture of a plate of food. And so again, these are things that when the children do come, that I can expose to them that look, we have memories. We're still smiling. We're still making sure that we'll travel this world together. We, our both of our parents were married for 40 something years until both of their spouses passed away. And that's what, not necessarily that's what we want as far as our spouses passing away, but they were in it to win it. And
The
so
winner, yeah, yeah. Same with
I,
mine.
yeah, I
51
enjoyed
years.
this. So again, we are getting off because we'll go
Thank
back
you
in a whole nother
so
hour.
much. I
Right.
know. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. I truly appreciate you allowing me to be on your platform. It's been great. I hope that your audience has gotten something out of it because that was the goal is to help, your audience see changes that they can make and that they can be the change. That's the key. They
Absolutely.
can be the change. And I love the fact that you were smiling when you were reminiscing, and that's what reminiscing is all about. Is it brings that smile back. It helps you remember what it was like when you were dating and first married. Those are the happy times that we just gotta keep bringing back to mind to remind ourselves of why we married this person in the first place. So, keep reminiscing because my husband and I do it all the time.
Absolutely. Again, you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. This has been a blast, and I will see you sometime next week.
Bye.
Yeah.